Good afternoon, good day. We're starting this seminar. Good
Good morning
morning.
for some of you, good afternoon for others. Thank you all for sharing this moment with the AIVP. We are now, 10 weeks away from our next World Conference in Lisbon, and it's a real pleasure for us to present today the main issues of this conference to you. I will remind, before to begin, I will remind you that simultaneous translations into French, Spanish, and English is available for this webinar. To choose your language, you have a button on the bottom of your screen, so don't hesitate to choose the language you prefer. For the rest of this webinar, I will express myself in French. Thank you for your understanding.
So, good afternoon again, or good morning. We're just about to start. Let me remind you that the title of this conference we call, Open Peers. Open Peers means it's an intention for us to express that in port cities, access to piers or access to the port actually is a prerequisite of proper development within an area. Ports are a site where flows converge, trade, logistics, ideas, and more human beings. More than ever, ports are a two-direction gateway to the world, and it is appropriated by the citizens more and more, whether citizens are invited or not by the public authorities. Therefore, more than ever, for a port city, it has to be constructed with the citizen and done for the citizen. And as you all know, within an rather unstable international
I cannot.
context, in terms of geopolitics, in terms of climate, or in terms of coastal area habitability, migrations of population, and also operational threats on port infrastructures. There will be a double purpose in Lisbon. First, we want to continue sharing good practices as we do at the AIVP to make progress together and overcome challenges. Second objective of the World Conference will be to show the world community the mobilization of port cities, their ability to innovate in order to launch a dialogue with the United Nations so that the strategic roles of port cities will be recognized, and also to make them understand that we are full part of the solution for ecologic and energy transition. I have with me Mario Girard, President of Quebec Port and Vice President of AIVP, and also Isabella Ramos, who will welcome us in Portugal, Director of the Port of Lisbon, and José Sanchez, who is in charge of the definition of the conference agenda. Now, let me start by giving the floor to Mario Girard, and I would like to remind you one fact. Port of Quebec recently received an award among all the companies in Quebec for the quality of its relationship with the local community. The Port of Quebec decided for several years now, but this is already at the forefront, to place citizens at the heart of their development strategy. And it is interesting to know why they went through this change of paradigm, what lessons can be learned from this in Quebec and elsewhere, and how can we together, Port of Quebec and other port cities in the world, can we come up, or overcome the challenge of climate change and its impact. So, Mario, it gives me great pleasure to give you the floor to give us to describe the example of Canada, of course, and other examples. Thank you, Bruno.
Bonjour tout le monde. Hi, everyone. I was asked to do that in English, so maybe it would have been easier for our translator team that I do that in French. But by the way, I want to wish the team of translators the best of luck, since none of us is speaking in our native language. So you guys are doing a great job. Thank you very much. So merci, Bruno. So I'm wearing today three hats. I'm, as you said, the VP of AIVP, the CEO of a Canadian and North American port, CEO of the Port of Quebec City, So I'm going to start with my AIVP hat. So for the past year, we have been talking, I've been a member of AIVP for now more than 10 years, and we have been talking often about waterfront development and relation with the community, which seems normal to me in the context of AIVP's mission. And at first sight, talking about the theme that we have today, decarbonization, energy transition, and climate change, seems a bit, I would say, removed from the AIVP's mission. But on the contrary, the AIVP and its network I would say, can offer us a broader understanding of what this entails and help develop new forms of cooperation with local and regional partners. Because at the end of the day, all actions we take and we will have to take to meet the global challenges of climate change will have to take place locally. That's why AIVP is so important in this challenge. And I can give you an example of a project of, for example, bunkering and storage of new fuel here in Quebec. On one side, it's a necessary project for the energy transition, but on the other side, there is a challenge with the social acceptance. It's always a delicate situation like that. And that's why our president, Edouard Philippe, wants the Lisbon conference to conclude with a declaration with a view to the third United Nations World Ocean Conference that will be held in Nice in June 2025. And this is also obviously in line with our Agenda 2030, which places the 17 Sustainable Development Goals in the context of port cities. Now, if I take my Canadian hat, since I was asked to tell you what's happening here. As in many countries, we see a lot of initiatives regarding climate change and decarbonization at the three levels of government. The federal government here is committed to reduce national greenhouse gas emission by 45% by 2030, to achieve the carbon neutrality by 2050. They launched what they call the net zero challenge for businesses, which is good. And by the way, we're proud of that. The ports of Quebec, Montreal, and Three Rivers, three members of AIVP, were the first ports to announce their joint participation in the net zero challenge to demonstrate our commitment and our leadership towards carbon neutrality. If I have to summarize, in other words, lots of initiatives, but the system will need much more money at the federal level to reach its goal. When I compare Canada to what's happening in some European countries, I can see that we're lagging a bit behind. At the province of Quebec level, the government launched 4 years ago a very well received and innovative maritime strategy. And the first action plan ends in next year, in 2025. The government is currently holding consultations for the next plan, but it's already clear that it will have to consider the issue of the energy transition. With its green electricity, just to remind you that 94% of Quebec's electricity generation comes from hydroelectricity resources. So Quebec is very well positioned to become a leader in decarbonization. Port and the maritime sector must be able to take advantage of this to offer, for example, the shore power option, and I would say stand out on the international scene. But as you all know, decarbonization comes with massive needs of green electricity, and we also here in Quebec have our issues on this side. It will clearly become a question of priority. At the city level, there are also many initiatives. One of them, the city wants to become a UNESCO biosphere region, like I think Dublin in Ireland. We would then be the first city in North America to receive such a designation, and the port is one of the contributors to this important initiatives. All that to say that here, like in other places in the world, these are very good initiatives, but in my personal point of view, not enough. Okay, it's not enough. If we want to succeed, we need to put that as a real priority. but it may mean the choosing to not invest in other important things. So it's going to be a tough call. If we look south of our border, the American side, the Americans are also investing a massive amount of money in energy transition. We're talking here about the unprecedented investment of billions of dollars in port infrastructure, clean energy transition, and climate change resiliency. Just to give you an example, they have a 50 billion fund to protect the communities against drought, heat, floods, and wildfires, to make infrastructure resilient against the impacts of climate change and extreme weather events. If in Europe, they have more, in my view, more regulation on the issue of climate change, in the US, they have more dollars. They have the dollars. So Canada has to be creative and find its own way in between. This brings me to wear my last hat, my hat of the CEO of the Port of Quebec, and tell you about a few initiatives in our port. But before I go, I want just to say that we're not such a big port compared to, we're doing well, as you said, Bruno. We're really proud of all the prize that we receive on that. But when we compare the Port of Quebec to the big guys, we stay humble. Okay, so that's with great humility that I share what I'm going to share with you today. And I want to start, as I do all the time, to remind that it's important to remember that maritime transport is still the most carbon efficient mode of transportation. For example, the operations of the port and its users generate 62,000 tons of greenhouse gases annually here. This represents 0.08% of GHGs in the province of Quebec, less than 2% of GHGs in the city of Quebec, and over 80% of these emissions are emitted by ships at berth. So despite this, we're aware of the role we have to play as an industrial leader, and we're making several commitments and taking a number of initiatives, in particular through our environment, social governance, the ESG and Sustainable Development Action Plan, which is, back to the AIVP, which is the result of several consultations with our internal and external stakeholders, including the community. This plan that we have set up for the 2024-2028 period is built around 4 pillars: environment and biodiversity, climate resilience and decarbonization, employees and communities, and finally, ESG leadership. A couple of examples for you. On the environment and biodiversity pillar, we have been working with the local community and environmental groups on an ambitious greening plan that has 4 main objectives: to reduce the carbon emissions from the port, to improve the air quality, to reduce the urban heat island, and to embellish the port. So on the climate resilience and decarbonization, one example that is a proof for all of you guys, we want to reduce the greenhouse gases and the main air contamination from cruise ship by implementing the shore power technology. In Canada, we have 3 ports that are equipped with shore power: Montreal, Vancouver, and Halifax. Quebec is working on this, but as you all know, the cost is really high. Only for 3 berths here in Quebec City, it's more than 50 million Canadian dollars. So we need to get there the government's help. On the 3rd pillar, the employees and communities, we created an annual fund dedicated to community-driven initiatives. We also have a major project. I don't have time today to talk about that, but what we call here, it's in relation with the blue economy, a 250 million project with the city of Quebec. We call that the Carrefour de l'eau in French, which means the water hub, a great project with the community. On the ESG leadership pillar, I can give you a couple of examples, but we want to support between 2 and 4 innovative initiatives per year. And to get there, we created what we call in French le phare, but in English we could say the lighthouse. And the idea is to open up the port area to Quebec's innovation ecosystem by working in the field of green technologies to develop new solutions to speed up handling all the issues that we all know around a port. We're having a great success with the lighthouse. The very first initiatives was about noise management and noise reduction. So we initiated a SWAT team, bringing together the expertise needed to deal with the issue, universities, research centers, people from the community. And we were able to raise 1.5 million to improve our scoreboard on this issue. It's a great success. We have many other ongoing initiatives with the lighthouse. Real-time water testing to make sure that people can swim in the river, gray water, many other initiatives. And it's a great tool to improve, I would say, the relation with our community, since they see that we care and want to make more than just meet the standards or the norms. In conclusion, I see the time. I often say that if I had to build a new city from scratch, people that know me know that story, I would definitely start with a port. Ports are an incredible tool of development. Ports are the interface between sea and land, rail and road, between the city and the water, and access to the rest of the world. No surprise if more than 85% of the most prosperous cities in the world are port cities. But as we all know in AIVP, it comes with a responsibility. And I think that we can handle it. Ports are not only essential links for trade and job creation, we're also part of the solution. We are vectors to help develop new technologies and to accelerate the finding of solutions for the mega huge challenges that we are facing. And in final, our government, with S, governments, must understand that investing in ports can definitely provide a fantastic return on investment that is aligned with what the citizens want when the port is engaged in implementing the best practices like the AIVP Agenda 2030, which include mobilize the citizen in all the process. Sometimes I tell myself that it will become a tough conversation between the government, the community, and the private sector, but we need to keep going, and this should be part of the Lisbon Declaration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario. A couple of ideas already stand out, simple ones, but we should all agree this Lisbon Declaration will be addressed to the United Nations, to a wide community. And even if Mario has insisted on the fact that 85% of the most prosperous cities of the world are port cities, bear in mind that many decision makers do not understand this. For many decision makers, port cities remain cities like any others. And our first objective should pinpoint these specificities, global challenger, but many initiatives and successes are local. It calls for means. We'll discuss that later on. We've seen the means provided in the US. It calls for ideas. And I'll come back to this. We need to explain well and to valorize maritime transport. Maritime transport remains the most virtuous ecological transport. Economy is global. In the near future, there could be possibly reshoring. Economy will remain global. Trade will remain global for mankind. And therefore, reflection should be conducted on how maritime transport could expand more or be better used, more efficient. So we've seen in the first presentation, and then I'll move on to Lisbon, innovation and the sharing of ideas are at the heart of the successful change. It's not just technical evolutions. There is a change in behavior, and all innovations are good. We know all dialogues with communities are good. Innovation in Lisbon is Isabel, with lots of initiatives around blue economy. Mario mentioned it. So I think this challenge of ecological transition, this challenge of the open pier to all, well, it is also for Lisbon and for all the businesses who work there to imagine tomorrow's solution. And with no further ado, I give you the floor to describe the ecosystem and the various initiatives along the Tage River that we will discover in November. Isabelle, you have
Bonjour
the
à
floor.
tous, and I will speak in English from now. I'll just put my screen, full screen. Is it okay now?
Yes.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I'm very anxious to have you all in Lisbon in November. And I think this moment is a good moment to open the veil about what Lisbon, Port of Lisbon is doing initiatives that goes forward and complies with the AVP contribution to the UN agenda. Before I start, I would like just to share what I thought when we were invited to have this moment with you, that we could share with you some of the initiatives that we are working. So we are talking about like an action plan that we need in the last 2 years, we need to follow in order to connect with the people, the proximity with the people. I've heard Mario Girard talking, in fact, I think we're living a catalyst time. The speed of decarbonization, energy transition are bringing more pressure to Lisbon as a urban port. And we decided to go back in the history of Lisbon in order to approach the citizens. And first of all, just for you to know, we have designed five strategic goals, where I reinforce mostly three of them: to develop in Lisbon a blue economic international cluster. As all the ports, we want to develop a big program for a green, intelligent and resilient port. And of course, and that's what moves the sustainability also, is the port-city relations, and sustainable communities. Let me add that Lisbon port, the relations it has, it's not only with the city of Lisbon, it's with the 10 cities more, because we have the Tagus River, and we have our territory goes from the north bank of the Tagus River to the south bank, which means that we have relations with 11 cities. And we have to manage all these communities and the 11 cities. Obviously, some have cargo, others have other type of uses. But that brings us the more difficult and challenging this approach to the UN agenda. But I will focus on some of the points that what we are here, how is the Port of Lisbon bringing the city closer? So we've decided a few years ago, the port decided to bring the history. As you know, Lisbon was a capital, a maritime capital. It still is, but its past explains the importance of what is in fact the Port of Lisbon. So since we have a model of governance together with Port of Setúbal in the south area of Lisbon, that is one of the ports that you have in your agenda to visit in the Saturday, the last day, the leisure day to visit it on Saturday. We with the Port of Lisbon and Setúbal arranged together, and we have an historic archive for the ports of Lisbon. in the south bank of Lisbon. That is the city of the archives, or the archives, I don't know how you spell it better, city of Barreiro, that is in the south. So they call it the city of historic archives, and we've decided to put there the archive, all the history of Lisbon and Setúbal ports physically, and obviously digitalizing everything. Well, we try to digitalize everything. It's a work in progress, of course, and to launch some editions that we launch every year, counting that tells the story, a part of the story of each of these ports. Each year we launch a part of the history of Port of Lisbon, and the next year the Port of Setúbal. And we have these editions in the libraries, and we share it with the community and with academia. And we always call some academic to do some workshops and explain part of the history. So we are talking about the physical monument that we have for this archive, but also a digital archive that you all are invited to visit. It's quite interesting. Last year, we've decided, as I said, to bring the memory of the refugees that passed through Lisbon. I don't know if you have the idea, but Lisbon in the years of 40s, when the Second World War was running, it was the place of escape for many artists, for many refugees that came from the war. And they leave from Lisbon to go to US and South America. And with a work that I think it connects a lot with people, it's about emotion and about our memory and our heritage. We've decided to do a work with a local journal, digital journal called Mensagem. And we've decided to invite a Portuguese artist that is now a very known artist called Vils to do a mural that would perpetuate the tribute of Lisbon and Port of Lisbon to the Jewish refugees that run from the Second World War. So we've decided with the local community, with the Port community that also embraced this anniversary and this date to approximate or to bring closer to the memory of these times, difficult times, where Lisbon was in fact the saving port in Europe. In that sense, you can see from this mural that Vils has used the refugee, women refugee picture that we have. And it did a work that took along around 1 month to redesign this and to prepare in a building that is an old building of health cares, health unit of the port by that time. And we used the building, and we've decided to put that a mural that is a tribute to all the refugees that went to American and to North and South of America. And we call it most of all the pier and the quay of Europe. This is a project that it doesn't end here. We have a lot of history now that's and contacts, and it has spread a lot of interest by the community, by citizens, academia. As you can see in the right side, we have launched also a documentary by a young director, Umberto Giancristofaro, that has made a beautiful documentary about this history, part of the history of Lisbon as the way of Europe and a place of escape for all the refugees. And in times of war, this was a huge emotional event even for the citizens and for the mayors, and it was a great moment. And most of all, we now have the memory of the port by that times, and we want to use this this moment to spread it along the history and events that we want to do in order to connect with people and connect with the citizens and also with tourists and the people, passengers that visit the port. And then we also decided to apply for in 2022 to the World Monuments Watch application for to have the financing of a project that is called the restoration of the Almada Negreiros murals. Almada Negreiros is probably one of the icons of modernism in Portugal, and it's very known international, mostly for academic and artists, and it has a lot of memories and arts in Portugal, but we were in fact this was murals that never opened to the city. Those murals was mainly used inside the maritime stations of the port, and normally were visited by the poor visitors, but it was not open to the city. We are talking about 2 maritime stations, and we've decided to run for this application in order to have the support of the World Monuments Fund. We did. It was a positive application. We did have all the support of World Monuments Fund, and now the work is in progress. And we are now working with academia, with Laboratório Hercules, with some of the best expertise of restoration of Italy, and also with the family of Almada Negreiros. What is the main goal? Is the safeguarding of obviously of the heritage of the port, the history, but most of all, our idea as a port was we need to open this to the people and to the city. And this was a trigger to a urban requalification. What you see in these pictures at the left side, we'll have our cocktail in the maritime station of Alcântara, where we'll have the chance to see the murals and an explanation about the murals and the work we are doing. At the right side, we have the maritime station of Rocha Conde de Dobres. So they are twins. They were built in the 40s. They were invoiced by our dictator Salazar, but he contracted Almada Negreiros to do the painting of the panels. Probably the thing is, you will find when you come here, hopefully, that Almada decided not to do everything that he was told to do. And in that sense, it's quite interesting to see how the look of Almada is also the look of an artist, and it's the look of the history of the port. And in that sense, we've decided to do a memorandum of understanding with the Lisbon Tourism Association to build an interpretive center for the murals of Almada Negreiros and the maritime stations here at the area of the port, the principal area. So as you can see from the picture at your left side is a picture from our port in the 40s, and the right side is the look and the painting of Almada Negreiros by that time. And you see it connects. And so we've decided with the municipality of Lisbon, with the Tourism Lisbon Association, that we're going to build, and it's starting, the works are running, you will see it when you come to Lisbon, to do like a port center, but with 2 dimensions. One that tells the high of Almada by that time, what was his feeling and his sense when he designed and he painting these walls, And then also a unit dimension of the history of the maritime stations and the Port of Lisbon, looking back in the past of the port and looking to the future. And with that idea, we've decided also to do a requalification of all the promenade of this area that you will see when you come to Lisbon, in order to have mainly the health and life quality of the citizens inside the area where the port is really with a lot of life. We have containers, we have nautical areas, the docks, we have the inspection services, customs, everyone is here. So it is in fact the biggest heart of the port. So we've decided to requalify this Alcantara promenade that will start in the next year. And then another area, so we are talking about transforming areas of the port and giving them back to the citizens. And then we have the Ocean Campus. The Ocean Campus will be an area, I show you this picture, this is a 3D, the future Ocean Campus. You will have the Champalimo Foundation, well, the big conference the inauguration of the conference will set, is inside this campus. And in fact, Champalimo Foundation is one of our partners for this new territory. These were old docks from the 60s, fishing docks. And what we are now planning, and we have already some private investors that will start the works there, but I still cannot announce. We will have an area that is mostly too big to implement a cluster, to rethink blue economy, research laboratories, startups, shared laboratories, and also a nautical and tourism and recreation hub. This is an area of 64 hectares that will bring together the Lisbon and Oeiras city. So we are talking about 2 municipalities that will work together. And this has a quite challenging governance model, but I think it will be probably the biggest and we hopefully it will be an icon, best practice in the world, hopefully, for the investigation for the blue maritime economy. And then we also decided another dimension that mainly to think about investing in human capital and also in climate change adaptation. It's our new program of innovation, TAGOS-Inov. We've done it with the two partners, Fórum Oceano and BTI, and we have launched the first edition right in June, and it mainly will work in 3 dimensions, what they call the verticals. We will work in smart and green ports, in mobility, and leisure and tourism. We've decided to start it in leisure and tourism. It already started in June. We are now, next week, we'll have the boot camp. And the good news that we had around 94 calls for this first edition. We cannot choose the 94, but we have already done our judgment for some of that we think that can bring value to the port. And hopefully we'll have news in November concerning what were in fact the new startups that will do some pilots in the Port of Lisbon. And then we have a big project that every port must attend, as mostly in Europe we need to have this implemented until 2030. It is an ongoing investment in the onshore power supply that will start at the cruise terminal. We're talking about a new substation that will then link to the other terminals, the container and multi-purpose terminals. This is an important investment and it's ongoing, fortunately, and we are working straightly with the municipality of Lisbon and also with the private partners and with the government to assure that we respond to this agenda. And then another important project, it's the smart monitoring of the port. We need to sensorize the port, to monitoring. This is also a big data, and it's quite challenging. We have signed a MOU with the University of IMS, and that will help us to do intelligence monitoring of all the ports. And last but not least, the port at the end, it's the connection with people. And we've, since the beginning of one of the biggest music festivals in Portugal is Nós Alive. And this year we've decided to support more directly. We have always support, and we've decided to be more close to all this public in order to attract and the Port of Lisbon, and to be closer of the young community and with the arts and music in Portugal. And that's it. I hope I opened the veil. Hope to see you in Lisbon in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel. I hope indeed that this is fueled the appetite of our participants in Lisbon, because many projects which are worthy of visits and to learn on site. I would like to make two comments. We've seen the two presentations, how the relationship with the local community and the port city axis today is through lines for avenues for development in port authorities. But you know, it seems obvious, but just remember the way we would think at the beginning of the year 2000, at the end of the 90s, and that was not obvious. We were not there. So as a Director General of AIVP, I can only be happy about that. We can see as well in Lisbon how the maritime identity can be put to use as a tool for citizen dialogue, as a means to reestablish a relationship, to talk about reconnection, as Isabel said. And this is something quite amazing, because, and which of course raises questions and issues, even financial issues today, be it the actions of the Port of Quebec for biodiversity, or be it this amazing cultural program done by the Port of Lisbon. Whether we like it or not, in a port accounting system, these are expenditures, cost, but these actions contribute to the well-being of population, to the common good of population and inhabitants. Well, maybe one day such actions could also be valorized differently in an accounting manner by the port authorities. This is raising fundamental issues in the role of ports in tomorrow's society. And before getting to the Lisbon Declaration, Mario, I'd like you to react to what you've heard from Lisbon. Now, you as a port authority today, how can you federate? Of course, you felt this need to work have a stronger link with communities, but how do you do this? But not alone. I mean, you're not just in your little corner, but how do you act as a catalyst, as someone who will, involve all the players? Microphone, Mario. Sorry. Well, clearly, the challenges we face today call for a coordinated response with all players. As you said, Bruno, it is obvious we have to work with all the players, all the, be there environmental groups, universities, private businesses, citizens. You talked about the change, 10 years ago already, we created the Cohabitation Committee, which we brought all the players around the table to try to define an harmonious approach. And let me tell you, such meetings are usually, fueled with a lot of viewpoints, different opinions. It's you rubber stamping. We totally open in the dialogue, and this is a source of information that made it possible to make progress in a significant way in terms of relationship with the community. We work a lot with the city of Quebec, a port and its city, this is the principle of AIVP. We have to work together, port and the city. When I came here, I said the background of Port of Quebec is the Quebec and also the front yard of the citizens of the city. Never forget that, the port is the front yard and the backyard of a city, and we have to know how to develop it. Here, for those who already came to Quebec, Isabel, has shown the great examples. We want to go to Lisbon, thank you, Isabel, but we also developed a promenade several kilometers long, and for several months and years, we had to close the railway of the port to be able to do the entire waterfront, which is now is superb in Quebec. But just imagine we had to work with everybody to get to such a project. We need, private businesses. We need innovation to be able to overcome the challenges of the future. And of course, we have to involve all citizens. That's fundamental. We can't even say now, partly or no. They are fully involved. They have to be fully involved, upstream as possible. We're not perfect. We're still learning. We've done a lot of things in that respect. We've done new tools. We call that, we go and meet the citizens. We do work groups. We want the citizens to come and help us what they want to see in the Port of Quebec. To work with the community for us is it is a must. People are more and more demanding. They're more and more educated. They want to have they want their voice to be heard in the very design of tomorrow's port. So we tell them the Port of Quebec is not just the business port, but it's the port of the community of Quebec. And we are absolutely convinced here, for all these reasons and all these challenges that we face, that the approach that would involve the community should go even, we have created port spaces, virtual spaces. It's full of initiatives which are very much like we call the port centers in AIVP, reinvented. But yeah, we got 3 people full-time who do that, only that. 3 employees full-time who work in social innovation, see how things can be improved, relationship can be improved in the community. And it's one of the best investments we've ever made in the Port of Quebec. It gives great results. We got a vice president of sustainable development with people who are solely responsible for ecological transition, energy transition. It's a short 12 years, in the history of a port. But the changes that have taken place in 12 years, quite amazing, and it shows that we're doing better and better with the community. Thank you, Mario. I'm checking the time because we have to close this webinar in 10 minutes. Just to say a few words concerning the conference UNOC 3 in June 25. This conference will have a central topic, the adaptation of coastal ports to climate change, and especially how can they deal with seawater level rising, and we've seen some nasty figures, warning figures. So this conference should lead to the creation of a major global coalition. And the United Nations, one way or another, will try to give it means to go into 3 directions: improve fundamental research, provide new financial tools or instruments, and try to help as much as possible at the local level. So we have to fit ourselves and this conference within this trend. We have to show that port cities, and we are doing it today, are coastal cities which are specific, which are strategic. This is what is at stake, so that in this coalition, AIVP and port cities should have a specific visibility. And this is why we, in the coming weeks, will submit the first elements for declaration. But I do believe that it has to be simple. Let me give you 3 leads for reflection. Mario said it. It is essential to show how local initiatives and port city citizen governance provides solutions. We can see that we change. The results are here, so we have to speed up and we have to, let go locally and go for it. Unleash the energies. We have to remind you that maritime transport has a role to play. Maritime transport today is 3% of greenhouse gas emission. Trajectories have been set by United Nations to drop the figures in 2050, but we can expand maritime transport today. We've entered a concentration of flows, which will be positioned in key points in the territories along the coast with issues of traffic congestion and so on and so forth. Now, how can we redistribute through maritime transport, and how maritime transport can help and serve the territories along the coast? And this is what is at stake for short distance maritime transport. We should be put back to the forefront, even if some people recently, people saw it as a failure. There are also technical innovation, but also behavioral innovation. People have to change. We need to change the approach. And I think around the ideas, there's a way for port cities to provide solutions and to show their know-how. But if we want this declaration to bear fruits, port cities have to commit themselves. And what does it mean? We have to keep showing our know-how. To be convincing, we have to show our good practices. But we want to do it in Nice, and we want to do it in Nice in front of the community of the United Nations, but in front of community of investors, to convince them that port cities, renovation, the city port stake deserves investment, including private investment. We must continue, as Mario said, in transparency concerning our results that we obtain in terms of sustainable development. This is fundamental. AIVP developed tools around its Agenda 2030, and port cities must take hold of it, and should not hesitate to auto-evaluate themselves to show their progress. We must go in that direction. If we remain in our little zone, if we don't publish our results, if we don't show that we do things, we will not do it. And finally, we have to train the teams. We got 2 port decision makers who are aware of the challenge, but we have to go further at every stage. Indeed, local authorities and port authorities, this notion of sustainable port city should be disseminated, and there are training programs. You could get back to this. And I think the Lisbon Declaration is here to ask for things, but we will get them only if we can prove that we are already able to do. I will stop now to leave a few minutes to José, who will cover briefly how the conference will take place, and we hope to get to see you in a large number.
Thank you very much, Bruno. Thank you very much for these words. I have 5 minutes to present the conference, so it's not that easy. The challenges, I'm going to quickly share my screen, just to give you a bit of hints of what we're going to do in Lisbon. So please confirm when you're seeing it. Can you see my screen? Yes, okay, very good. So, as you know, AIVP organizes the World Conference now is every year. And the point really is as a main gathering of port city leaders from all over the world to share good practices and good ideas, addressing the challenges that both Isabel and Mario and Bruno just explained. So we will be meeting in November from the 27th to the 29th as a main conference, and then 1 extra day for specific visits. So I'm going to go a bit fast. I hope the translator can forgive me for this. Like I said, we are doing this in cooperation with the Port of Lisbon. We're going back to Lisbon, actually, because we already had a conference there 20 years ago. We are going to discover many of the projects that Isabel just showed us. And we will also get to know this region as a blue economy innovation hub and also as a maritime and logistic hub. Lisbon is now very popular for touristic reasons, but it goes beyond that. And we'll get to know that in this conference. The main title is Open Piers, steering flows between people, planet, and port cities. And this is to show that we have changed the approach on how we see ports and how ports see the city and the citizens. They are opening up, but indeed they remain as very crucial gates to steer the flow of investment, people, knowledge, culture, and all kinds of different flows that form these port cities. Now, it's an important conference also for us because it's going to be the first edition of the AIVP and Toronto FNAC Prize. So a new initiative that AIVP is launching, and we already have a few projects that are among the applications. We're going to, of course, talk about the good practices. We are going to learn about projects that we're already leading, international projects on key topics such as the energy transition or the shared use of spaces in the river and the access to water. And definitely we will talk about the work that our different working groups are currently developing. Of course, as Bruno said, this is all connected to the UN Ocean conferences, the one that took place in Lisbon and the one that will take place next year in Nice in France. The program, because I think this is the key that everybody wants to learn, wants to see. So on Tuesday, we'll have a welcome cocktail for those that can arrive a bit earlier. We'll be happy to see you. On Wednesday, we will have our General Assembly Friday in the morning. So we will have to work. We have to get up early, but it will be a very productive day. And then we'll have our official opening at 11 in the morning with the local authorities, followed by a keynote speech by our president. In the afternoon, we're going to have 3 parallel tracks that they're going to focus on cruises connected to the issue of mobility. We're going to talk about culture and governance, and this will take place in the maritime station that Isabel was just showing. And we will also have one session on port city interface and climate change. It's important to understand that our conference is not just about getting closed in one room, but we want to have these sessions in different locations. So for example, the cruise and mobility will take place in the cruise terminal that Isabel also showed us. In the end of the day, we will have the award ceremony for the prize and a welcome and another nice cocktail. On the second day, we're going to have key debates in the morning connected to the declaration that Bruno was just explaining. And in the afternoon, again, we'll have parallel tracks in different locations, focusing on environment in the maritime school. We will have a session on blue economy innovation directly in the Champalimau Foundation, where we will be very close to the future ocean campus that Isabel was explaining. And we will also have a specific parallel track focusing on the energy transition and all the challenges that are attached to it. We will conclude the day with a gala dinner. So you can see it's going to be quite a packed schedule and very intense day. On the final day of the conference, we'll have, again, key roundtables in the morning, followed by the port city debate in the afternoon, where we will get the feedback from all the rapporteurs, and then we will do a port visit at the end of the day. Finally, on Saturday, we will do our technical visit, and this is a very special day because we're not going to stay in Lisbon, we're going to go to Setúbal, which is, again, another port in the region of the Greater Lisbon, with very different logistic profile, smaller scale. The city is in a smaller scale. It has specialized in different kinds of cargo. So we will go to Setúbal, we get to know the port, we'll visit the shipyards, having lunch there, and then we will go back to Lisbon, but we will do so crossing the Tagus River from Seychelles in the new electric ferries, because we know this is a key topic for many of our members, and Lisbon is innovating in this aspect. Quick glance on where we're going to meet. We're going to be in a state-of-the-art health research foundation on the waterfront that is on Port Authority territory. So this is also, again, a new combination of functions taking place on the waterfront. and is also a key area to understand the changes of the port city interface. And then we're going to have parallel tracks in the cruise terminal. Again, a very modern, recent building right next to the city center. We'll have energy transition sessions on a former power central again on the river, and we will be having, of course, sessions on culture and governance in this lovely maritime station that Isabel was just showing us. Now, very quickly, just some logistics. AIVP has agreements with 2 specific hotels that are very close to the area where we will have our conference. You can see it here. I know this is very close, but if you're able to place Lisbon, the Belém Tower is the main landmark, one of the main landmarks of Lisbon. Again, a historic maritime structure defining the skyline of the city. And here we'll have our conference, the plenary sessions in the Champalimo Foundation, and we'll have on this section several parallel tracks, and the 2 hotels are just 10 minutes away from the main venue. The registrations are open. We have already the program quite set up. We will be starting to share more information on the specific sessions, on the speakers in the coming days. So right now, all I can say is that we will be happy to see you in Lisbon. We're really looking forward to welcome you in this great port city. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate. We'll be happy to answer you and to help you. So that's all for me. Thank you very much, Bruno. Thank you very much, everybody. If you want to close, please go ahead.
Thank you, Jose. So you understood the challenges, what is at stake. We want to show our ability to mobilize ourselves, our know-how, our initiatives, our innovations. So in Lisbon, the city port international community should be there. So mobilize yourselves, join us, come to Lisbon. The hospitality is going to be amazing. Let's be together in front of the United Nations. Let's show them what we can do together. But this first mobilization phase is essential for our credibility. So if we are not able to mobilize ourselves, we will not be listened to we won't be listened by the United Nations. Then the AIVP will be floated in a coalition, but the port will have no specific role to play. So I really promise you that this message is simple, but when we attend the preparation meetings, it's obvious. So I only push you to come. All inscriptions are open, and we will, in the coming days or weeks, we'll provide you with more information and associate you with the preparation of this declaration. Many thanks to Mario, as president of the Port of the Quebec Investment of AP, Isabel, who really fueled our appetite. Thank you, Jose, for the presentation. Thank you all for your presence today. Thank you to the interpreters for accepting the minutes. Thank you for your work, and see you very soon in Lisbon. It's always a great pleasure to work with you and for you. Bye-bye to all.